Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. And today we'll be discussing the theory for the chapter Living World. So, this is the part one of the lecture. Before starting this lecture, I just want to give you one information that the images, text, and other materials used in the presentations are for education purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@itk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please know that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So let's start with the introduction of this chapter. How wonderful is the living world? The wide range of living types is amazing. So if you go outside, if you look around, you can see different types of species, different type of living organisms. Okay, so there are different species of animals, different species of plants, different species of insects. Okay, and there are different species of microorganisms also, which you can't see by the naked eyes. So how wonderful is the living world? Okay, here the organisms, the living organism, they are interacting with each other, and they are interacting with with their physical environment. Means they are interacting with the abiotic components of the environment. All right. So there's a lot of biodiversity, and it has taken millions of years for the creation or the evolution of species. Now, the extraordinary habitats in which we live, in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forests, oceans, freshwater lakes, desert, or hot springs, leave us speechless. So you can see these living organisms, they occupy various habitats. They occupy various regions of this planet Earth. Some of the organisms, they are found in the cold mountains. So they are acclimatized to this habitat, to this cold habitat, or they have adaptations which help them to survive in this cold habitat. Then you can see organisms living in deciduous forest. So what is deciduous forest? So here the trees, they shed their leaves annually, especially during the fall, and then they regrow the leaves during the spring. So you can see a lot of organisms living in this deciduous forest. Then you have oceans. So oceans have their own kind of biodiversity. Okay, aquatic animals, they live in the oceans. So if you talk about oceans, okay, or any other aquatic system, then you have the phytoplanktons, which are the producers. Then you have the zooplanktons, okay, which feed on the phytoplanktons, and then you have the fishes and larger fishes. Then you have freshwater lakes, desert. In desert, the temperature is very high. Okay, there are xeric conditions, which means temperature is high. The humidity, okay, there is, you can say there is very less moisture in the air. Okay, then you can see organism, they live in hot springs also. So hot springs, it is a kind of extreme climate. Organisms living in extreme climate, they are known as extremophils. Okay, so these hot springs, okay, the temperature is very high, and here the organisms which live in hot spring, they are known as thermophils. So they have adaptations which help them to survive in this hot springs. Then, okay, so these are different kind of habitat where the living organisms live. And the beauty of a galloping horse, of the migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder. Okay, so whenever you see these living organisms, whenever you see these birds, these migratory birds, whenever you see a horse running, whenever you see the different kind of flowers, okay, or whenever you see aquatic life, then it evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder in you. So you are amazed, you are fascinated with this biodiversity. Now, the ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside the cell, makes us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. So there are a lot of conflicts within the organisms. Organisms, they are interacting with each other. So there are different kind of population interactions. Okay. So when there is a conflict, means there is a competition between two organisms or two different species, as the resources are always limited. So there is a competition between the species, okay, for the same resources, and there is a cooperation also between the organisms or between the members of a population. Okay, they are cooperating with each other. So you must have heard about the mutualistic association, where both the interacting partners are benefited. So there is a cooperation and there is a conflict among the members of a population and also among population of a community. So what is community? So community consists of populations of different species. Okay, so there can be a competition or there can be cooperation between the members of a population or between populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside the cell. What is this molecular traffic? So the organized movement of the molecules within the cell, this is known as molecular traffic. Okay, what kind of molecules? These can be sugar, these can be proteins, these can be lipids. And this helps in the homeostasis, means to maintain an, you can say, stable environment. This is homeostasis, or to resist a change in the external environment. Okay. So this makes us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. So this question has two implicate questions within it. So what are these two questions? First is the technical one and seeks answer to what living is as opposed to the non-living. Okay, this is the first question. What is living and what is non-living? And the second is the philosophical one and seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. So here there are two questions here. What is living and what is non-living? Another question is, what is the purpose of life? Okay, what is the purpose of living? Okay, so these living organisms, they reproduce, they increase their number. Now, as scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question, what is the purpose of life? Now, we will try to reflect on what is living. Now, let's talk about the diversity in the living world. Now, if you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms. Means you will see a lot of biodiversity. Be it potted plant, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. So there are different species of plants, insects, birds, okay, animals. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around. Here they are talking about the microorganisms, such as bacteria, yeast, okay, fungi. These are all microorganisms. You cannot see them with your naked eye. Now, if you were to increase the area that you make observation in, the range and variety of organisms that you see would increase. So if you go outside, okay, and if you are visualizing, suppose 1 kilometer of area, okay, then you will find particular diversity here, particular biodiversity. Then if you Move further, you cover 10 kilometers of area. So if you increase the range of your observation, then obviously the variety of organism that you will see would increase, means the biodiversity will increase. You will find different kind of organisms. Okay, because whenever you are increasing the area under observation, then you can see the climate also changes. Okay, if we are talking about the larger geographical area, the conditions there changes, the environment changes. Okay, and this environment, this particular habitat, this supports different kind of organisms. So if you increase the range of your observation, then obviously the variety of organism that you see would increase. So here you can see in this image, this is showing you the variety of life on the earth. Okay, so you can see you have these tigers. Okay, so you have mammals also, you have this fungi which are mushrooms also, you have reptiles also, you have insects which belong to the phylum Arthropoda, then you have aquatic lives also, then you have birds, you have different kind of trees, different kind of plants, then you have aquatic plants also, then you have these large trees known as sequoia. Okay, so variety of life on earth is amazing. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organism in it. So a dense forest supports a lot of biodiversity because there is a lot of organic matter there. There is a lot of food for the other organisms to consume. Okay, here in these forests, climate is also suitable for the growth of different kind of organisms. So in a dense forest or in a tropical rainforest, you will probably see a much higher or much greater number and kinds of organism. Okay. Now, each different kind of plant, animal, organism that you see represents a species. So each plant or each animal or any organism that you see, it represents a species. So the number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. So these many species are known and described, means they have been characterized. But still there is a huge number of species that have not been described or not even been found also. Now this refers to biodiversity or the number and type of organism present on the earth. So what is biodiversity? The number and type of organism present on earth. So biodiversity includes these two things, number and types of organism present on the earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even the older ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. Okay, so as you are exploring the new areas, you are going to remote areas or you are going to these areas which haven't been explored. Okay, then obviously there is a chances you will find new organisms there. Okay, so still there are a lot of species that haven't been discovered also. Now, I stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world we know. Okay, we know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. So there are millions of plants and animals in this world, and we know these plants and animals in our own area by their local names. Okay. Now these local names would vary from place to place even within a country. So let's take for example ladyfinger, which is okra. So in Hindi it is called bindi. Okay, in Tamil it is called vendagai. Okay, in Bengali it is known as dhirosh. So these local names vary even within a country. So this creates a confusion. Okay, you're talking about which thing? Okay. Now probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. So this will create confusions. Okay. So how you will know that that person is referring to that thing, because they are calling the same thing by different names. So how can this be solved? Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of the living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. So what can be done to avoid this confusion? There is a need to standardize the naming of the living organism so that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. So whenever, okay, even if you go in some country, okay, you are referring to the same thing. Okay, even you are going to some other country. Okay, you are from India, you are going to US, or you are going to Canada. Okay, a particular thing should be known by a specific name all over the world. So this process is known as nomenclature. Nomenclature means naming of the living organism. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism name is attached to. So before nomenclature, before naming, what should be done? The description of the organisms should be done. Okay, so naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly. Okay, this is the requirement. All right, organism should be described correctly. Now, this is known as identification. So before nomenclature, identification is very important. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each organism. Okay, so scientists, what they are doing, they have established procedure to assign a scientific name to to each known organism. So this is acceptable to biologists all over the world. Now for plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, abbreviated as ICBN. Okay, so this is for plants. So scientific names of the plants, okay, or scientific name to the plant, they are assigned based on the principles and criteria provided by ICBN. Okay, so you may ask, how are animals named? So animal taxonomies have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, abbreviated ICZN. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name, okay, all over the world. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. Okay, so this avoids confusion. Okay, by providing a scientific name to a particular organism, you can avoid confusion. Okay, and this will enable the people living in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. So they also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other known organisms. This is the another thing that you have to take into consideration, that the scientific name has not been used to any other known organism. So scientific name should be unique. Now, biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Okay. Now, each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. So we are talking about the scientific name here. A scientific name has two components. First is generic name, another one is the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. So bi means two. Okay, here there are two components of a scientific name, generic name and specific epithet. Now this naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. So binomial nomenclature was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Now this naming system using two-word format was found quite convenient. Now let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing these scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Okay, let us see how it is a binomial name. Okay, so in this name, Mangifera represents the genus, means it is the generic epithet, while indica is a particular species or the specific epithet. So here Mangifera is the genus, indica is the species. Okay, Mangifera is a generic name which indicates the genus, indica is a specific epithet which indicates the species. Now, other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. First one is biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. So this is very important. Biological names or scientific names are written in Latin because Latin is a dead language and it is not evolving. So the meaning of the word remains the same. Okay. Now scientific names are written in italics, means they are italicized. Okay. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Means they are always written in Latin irrespective of their origin. Second one, the first word in a biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Now, both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Okay, so whenever you are writing a scientific name, then you have to underline it. Okay, you have to underline the genus and the species separately. And if you are printing it, then they should be italicized. Now, fourth one, the first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter. So the generic name starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. So it can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Here, Mangifera, which is the genus, it is starting with a capital letter, and the specific epithet, it is starting with the lowercase letter, means a small letter. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet, that is at the end of the biological name, and is written in a abbreviated form. For example, Mangifera indica, Lin. So this species was described by Linnaeus. Okay, Lin is abbreviation of Linnaeus. Okay, so the name of the author is written after the specific epithet and in abbreviated form, and it is not italicized. Okay, the author name is not italicized. So it indicates the species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. So you cannot study each and every living organisms. It is not possible. So it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. How you will study all the living organisms present on the earth? So this process is known as classification. So you have to classify these organisms based on some criteria. That is based on the similarity. So classification is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characteristics. This is the definition of classification. So grouping of the organisms into convenient categories based on some similarities or dissimilarities. Okay, or based on some easily observable characteristics. For example, we recognize groups such as plants or animals, or dogs, cats, or insects. Okay, so these are the groups of the organisms. Now, the moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characteristic with the organism in that group. So whenever someone is saying plants or animals, someone is talking about dogs or cats, so you make an image of a dog or a cat in your mind, and you know this dog has a particular character. Okay, plants have a particular character. Plants are sedentary, they will not move, they have leaves. Okay. Now, what image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs and not cats. Now, if we were to think of Alsatians, we know that we are talking about. Okay. Whenever you talk about Alsatians, we know what we are talking about. We have image in our mind. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals. You would of course think of animals with external ears and body hair. So these are the characteristic feature of mammals. They have external ears, and their body is covered with hairs. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our mind will be of wheat, not that of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cat, mammals, wheat, rice, plant, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study the organism. Okay. So, when we were studying classifications, what was classification? Making this convenient groups or grouping of organism into these convenient categories based on easily observable characteristic. So here these dogs, cat, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, these are convenient categories. And we use these categories to study the organisms. Okay, and we are placing these organisms into a particular category based on similar or dissimilar characteristics. Now, the scientific term for these categories is taxa. Okay, so each of these is a taxa. Mammals, wheat, rice, plants. So these are all taxa. Okay, but the rank here is different. Okay, we'll talk about this in an upcoming slides. Now, here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. So here the levels are different. The rank is different. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. But their rank is different. Their levels are different. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. So you can see the hierarchy here. This is a hierarchy. Dog, it has a lower level, it has a lower rank. Then mammals have a higher rank, and animals, they have the highest level or the rank. Therefore, animals, mammals, and dogs represent taxa at different levels, means their ranks are different. Okay, you can see in this image showing you the taxonomic hierarchy of dogs, mammals, and animals. You can see here, dogs, they occupy the lowermost level here, lowermost taxa in this image. Then above to dogs, you have the mammals. So dogs belongs to the mammals. And mammals, they are the animals. So animals, they occupy the highest rank here in this figure. Okay, so these all are taxa. Animals are also taxa, mammals is also taxa, dogs is also taxa, but their rank, their levels is different. So this is hierarchy, taxonomic hierarchy. Hence, based on the characteristic, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. So this process of classification is known as taxonomy. Okay. Now, external and internal structure, along with the structure of the cell, developmental process, and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Okay, whenever we are doing the taxonomic studies, what all things we take into consideration? Okay, or the grouping of organisms is based on what? It is based on features such as external and internal structures. Okay, structure of the cell, then developmental process, ecological information of the organisms, means in which area they are found. This forms the basis of the modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, nomenclature are the processes that are basic to the taxonomy. So what all things does taxonomy include? It includes characterization, identification, classification, as well as nomenclature. These are all included under the taxonomy. So taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. Because the humans are always in search of something new. They want to discover, they want to explore new areas, they want to discover new organisms. Especially they want to, you can say, discover animals or plants that are useful to them. Now, in early days, human beings needed to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. So these were the basic needs of the early human. Even now, these are the basic needs. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. So earlier, how these organisms were grouped into these categories. So they were grouped based on the uses, whether they are beneficial to humans or not. Okay, so that's why earlier classification was based on the uses of the various organisms. Now, human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. Okay, so humans, again, they are very curious. So they want to know about different kinds of organisms, and they want to know about their diversity. But they also want to know relationship between these organisms. What is the relationship between these different kind of organisms? How they are linked together? What is the similarity between them? Okay, so they want to know about the evolutionary, you can say, relationship. So this branch of study was referred to as systematics. Systematics also include the evolutionary relationship or phylogenetic relationship. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of the organisms. Now, Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Okay, so systematic includes all these: identification, nomenclature, and classification, which is also included under the taxonomy. So what is the difference between taxonomy and systematics? It's got taxonomy also included, identification, nomenclature, and classification. So what is the difference between taxonomy and systematic? Difference is that systematics include the phylogenetic relationship also. Okay, systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between the organisms. So this is how systematic is different from taxonomy. Okay, so you should note there is a slight difference between this systematics and taxonomy. So whenever we are talking about evolutionary relationship, we are talking about systematics. So okay, you know your evolution has taken place. Okay, and because of this evolution, there is creation of new species. Okay, so all the organisms, they are linked to each other. Okay, the present day organisms, they show similarity to the organism which existed millions of years ago. And the present day organisms, they are similar to each other also. Okay, this is clear. Now let's summarize this theory that we have discussed. Living world is rich in variety, means there's a lot of biodiversity. Now, millions of plants and animals have been identified and described, but a large number still remains unknown. Okay, so a lot of these different species have not even been found because they are living in these remote areas. They are living in extreme conditions where humans have not been able to reach. So that's why there is a millions of plants and species that have not been even described and identified. So they are still unknown. Now, the wide range of organisms in terms of size, color, habitat, physiological and morphological features make us seek the defining characteristic of the living organisms. Okay, clear? So there is a range of organisms, there is a variety of organisms, and they differ in size, color, habitat, their physiology, and their morphological features. Now, in order to facilitate the study of kinds and diversity of organism, okay, means biodiversity, biologists have evolved certain rules and principles for identification, nomenclature, and classification of the organisms. The branch of knowledge dealing with these aspects is referred to as taxonomy. So, taxonomy includes what? It includes identification, nomenclature, as well as classification. Now, systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship also, in addition to the identification, nomenclature, and classification. So, what is systematic? Taxonomy, okay, along with evolutionary relationship between the organisms. So, this is how systematic is different from taxonomy. Systematic also includes the evolutionary relationship between the organisms. Well, let's begin with the DPP. Okay. Now, which of the following is the primary purpose of binomial nomenclature? This is the first question here. Okay, what are the options here? Option is to assign names based on the organism's habitat. B is to ensure each organism has a unique two-part scientific name. C is to translate local names into Latin for uniformity, and D is to classify organisms into hierarchical categories. So what will be the correct answer? Okay, the correct answer will be option number B here. So what are the primary purpose of binomial nomenclature? Okay, binomial nomenclature was given by Linnaeus, and it states that, or according to binomial nomenclature, each scientific name or every scientific name will have two components: generic name and a specific epithet. Okay, so the purpose will be to ensure each organism has a unique two-part scientific name. The next question, according to International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN, which rule applies to the biological names? Means they are talking about the scientific names. One is names are always underlined when printed. B is the genus name start with a lowercase letter. C is specific epithet is written in italics, and D is the genus name is capitalized. What would be the correct answer? Here, the correct answer will be option number D. The genus name is capitalized. Okay. So, genus name starts with the capital letter and the specific epithet that start with a small letter. So, this is the rule. Now, let's discuss this question. What does the term taxon refers to in the biological classification? Okay, what is the meaning of taxon or taxa? What are the options here? Option B, a group of organisms at an hierarchical level. Option B, the evolutionary history of a species. C, the process of naming organism, and D is a tool used for morphological studies. Okay, the correct answer will be option number A, a group of organism at any hierarchical level. Okay. So what is a taxon? Taxon is basically a category in which the organisms are classified based on certain characteristic. So these taxon can be a species, Okay, it can be a genus, it can be a family. And this taxon represents a rank. That's why it is a group of organisms at any hierarchical level, be it genus, species, family. All right. Now, this question, which of the following is a component of systematics? Option number is studying only the external structure of organisms, means morphology. Morphology means study of the external structure. B is focusing solely on the ecological interactions. C is analyzing evolutionary relationship among the organisms, means phylogenetic relationship. And D is exclusively using common names for identification. So what will be the answer for this question? Okay, the correct answer will be analyzing evolution relationship among the organisms. So systemic, how systematics is different from taxonomy. So systematics also include evolutionary relationship between the organisms. Okay. Now, what is the correct format for writing the scientific names of mango as per the binomial nomenclature? Okay. First one is Mangifera indica. It has not been italicized, you can see. Then B is Mangifera indica, italicized, and the name of the author is written after the specific epithet here and in abbreviated form, but it is not italicized. C is Mangifera indica, which has been italicized, and D is Mangifera indica. Then the name of the author, Linnaeus, is written in abbreviated form, and the name of the author is also written in the brackets. So what will be the correct answer? Okay, here the correct answer will be option number B here. So you can see this is correct way of writing a scientific name. Scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. So it has two components. Mangifera, this is the genus name. Indica is the specific epithet. It represents the species. Name of the author is written after the specific epithet and it is abbreviated, okay, and non-italicized. Okay, in option A, you can see the name is not italicized. In C, the name of the author is not written. In D, the name of the author is written in brackets. So that's why correct answer will be option number B. Okay, so with this, we have completed the DPP for this chapter. So all our answers are correct. So this is the end of this session. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. Thank you very much for listening.